Hello, my name is Madison McKenna, and I am going to be discussing with you the FLDS Church and its leader, Warren Steed Jeffs. In this speech, I will be informing you on how the church came to be, his conviction and charges, and also the aftermath of the church after he has been convicted. Now, this is not going to be a persuasive speech. It's not going to have my opinions in it, what I think about him. This is more an informative speech, just to inform you on who he is, what the church is, and how this has negatively impacted his congregation's lives, and what he has done to these people. So first I'm going to be talking about the church itself, which is the FLDS, which stands for the Fundamentalist Latter-day Saints. This church is a branch of Mormonism. So Mormonism started in the late 1800s, and the FLDS is a little bit different than the more modern version of Mormons. So don't worry if the Book of Mormon is your favorite musical. Don't worry, this is not who I'm talking about. The FLDS is completely different from the modern version of Mormonism, because the FLDS still practices a tradition known as polygamy, and polygamy is one man having multiple wives. The modern day Mormons do not practice this. The FLDS does still practice this. So the FLDS was not founded by Warren Steed Jeffs. The FLDS has been around for a very long time, but he does come from a long line of prophets. So Jeff's father, Rulon Jeffs, was the prophet before him, and he had about 50 wives. He was the prophet, the president, the leader. And when Warren Steed Jeffs was born, he was born 2 months premature. And his survival kind of labeled him as the golden child. So when his father died, everyone knew that Warren was going to become the new prophet because he was the golden child. So in 2002, Jeffs became the president or the prophet of the FLDS. And over the span of a couple years, he accumulated 78 wives and had about 50 children. He also married some of his father's old wives. After he died, Warren married some of his father's younger wives. So in 2004, 2 years after Warren became the prophet, he decided to excommunicate 21 men from the church on disobedience charges. So they were excommunicated, and obviously this caused quite an uproar, and they charged a civil suit against him in 2004. Also during this time, he had his first child sexual assault charge against him from his nephew, Brent Jeffs. Now, obviously for Warren, he was probably afraid and upset by this. So he disappeared, and they did not find him until 2006, when LAPD, the Los Angeles Police Department, found him in North Los Angeles, and in his car he had wigs, sunglasses, and $50,000. He was also on the FBI's most wanted list in 2006. So the reason that Jeffs became on the FBI's most wanted list is because not only did he have his nephew's charge against him and also the civil suit, but in 2005 he was indicted in a case involving a 14-year-old and a 19-year-old, and he was charged as accomplice to rape because of his role in a marriage between the 14-year-old and the 19-year-old, who were also cousins, which is illegal. So he was found and then convicted in 2007 of the accomplice to rape charge. Nothing became of the civil suit or of his nephew's molestation claims. So he was convicted only of accomplice to rape and was also convicted of 2 sexual assault charges of a minor because of his celestial marriages. Now, celestial marriages is what he called these 2 marriages that he was married to a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old. And he obviously is like a middle-aged man at this point. And he was married to a 12 and 15-year-old. So now I will be discussing the aftermath. So Warren Steed Jeffs is now in jail for life. He got a life in prison sentence plus 20 years. So Jeffs still runs the church from prison. Holy men from the church, they're labeled as holy men, they come and they visit him in jail, or they talk to him on the phone, and basically he tells them of new visions that he has, new rules that he thinks that the church needs to abide by, and the holy men basically are messengers to the people, and they tell the people what their leader has said and kind of enforce his rules. After Warren Steed Jeffs was convicted, a lot of people came out of the woodwork and felt confident enough to kind of share their story. But I will preface with everything I'm about to say, he has not been convicted of in a court of law and has not been proven true. So everything I'm about to say is alleged. So in 2017, a woman who goes by the title of RH filed a lawsuit against him, basically saying that he sexually abused her as a child. Again, these are just claims. However, this lawsuit didn't end up going anywhere because in 2019, Jeffs suffered a mental breakdown in prison and was hospitalized for about 6 months. His children, 3 in particular, have also come out with stories about him. His 2 children, Becky and Roy Jeffs, did an interview on CNN, and they basically talked about how they were molested as children by their father. And another one of his children, her name is Rachel Jeffs, she claims that she was one of his favorite children, and that her abuse was extra bad. Like, she was abused from a very young age, and she did an interview on Dateline about it. So in conclusion, Warren Steed Jeffs has not been convicted or tried in a court of law for any of these recent charges that have been stacked against him. One positive thing that has come out of his conviction is that one of his old followers named Brielle Decker purchased one of his old compounds in South Dakota, and she built the Short Creek Dream Center. And this center is basically for any of Warren Steed Jeffs or the FLDS in general, their victims, to go and just get the help that they need to kind of get back on the right track. And I would just like to thank you guys for listening and learning about Warren Steed Jeffs, leader and prophet of the FLDS Church, how he has affected these people, and also convicted felon.